Hello YouTube and welcome back for another edition. This is going to be March and April's Blu-ray update. I've got quite a few to get through here, so there's a good range, some weird and wonderful films to show you. So sit back, relax and enjoy. Okay, so kicking off, we've got an indicator release. This is Charlie Varick. This was a great film. I sat down to watch probably about a month ago now. It's about a group of bank robbers who are trying to hit small town banks and end up getting a big stash from the mob, basically. Really well put together. I'd recommend this one. Always a good presentation from Indicator as well. Next up, we've got the Thor collection. So as you can see, I've got all three films. I didn't have any of these before. I'd seen them, but I wanted to wait until all three were released in the box set. So yeah, you got the first Thor, then you got the Dark World, and of course the excellent recent Ragnarok. Got to add in here that yesterday we went to go see Infinity War at the cinema, and it was pretty bloody fantastic. Okay, here we've got Wind River. I must say, this one blew me away. I thought it was really, really good, and I'd recommend it to anyone. Fantastic piece of filmmaking from a director who's not made many films before. Yeah, really, really good. Highly recommended. Okay, next up we've got Detroit. Now I have to give a big shout out here to a fellow YouTuber, Movie Mouth. Thank you very much. I won this one in one of his competitions. He sent it to me really quickly, pristine condition, slipcover and all. Detroit was a film that I didn't pick up straight away, and I'm so glad I didn't now, because winning it was amazing, and it's a fantastic film as well. Highly recommended. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is Reborn. This one was one that I wanted to pick up as soon as it's released. I'm a big fan of martial arts films. If you've seen other videos, you probably know that by now. I love this actor, Tak Sakaguchi. He's not made many films that have had Blu-ray releases in this country, unfortunately. Favourite of mine, which I've still got on DVD somewhere, is Versus. This one was pretty epic. As say, if you like brutal martial arts films similar to like along the lines of The Raid, you know, really well sort of choreographed knife fights and gun fights, this one's well worth seeing. There's going to be a few pickups from HMV in this video. Here's one of them. It's recently gone into the 5 for 30 offer. It's the remake of Ghost in the Shell. I'm a big fan of the original anime. I watched this one, and I must say, I didn't dislike it by any means. I thought it was good. It had a lot of positive points to it. Unfortunately, I can't help but compare it to the original, and it's just not on the same level. Next up, another HMV pickup. This one's Lucio Fulci's Touch of Death. This is obviously like a supernatural horror film. Not one, to be honest with you, I've not watched this one yet because it didn't arrive for a while. There was a bit of a delay on it. Big fan of Fulci. I love his horror works. This is one of his later releases. A lot of his, you know, super fans don't rate this one highly. I'll give it a go definitely, and I'll make my own mind up on that. More from HMV. It's another fantastic release from 88 Films. This one's The Bride from Hell. Again, another great old school sort of 70s studio release from the Shaw Brothers. Again, another HMV pickup, and another one along the lines of the Shaw Brothers. This one's like a supernatural horror, again from 88 Films, part of their Asia range. Along the line, I'm going to try and pick up all these releases because I love these types of films. Last one in the HMV pickup, although there will be some more in this late video, definitely. The Patriots Day. So I didn't get this one on first release. I wanted to wait for the price to drop a little bit. We watched this one as soon as it arrived, though. Yeah, it's a bit of a sucker punch, this one is. It's a well-made film, I must say. I was impressed by it. I would definitely recommend it. Now, I've got a few pickups from Music Magpie in this video as well. This is one of them. I'm really quite enjoying going through their sort of their website, because even though a lot of the stuff you get from there is second hand, it always arrives in mint condition. It's like free delivery. I feel like I'm on commission for it at the moment. No, I'm not. I just think they're really good alternative to buy from than, like, you know, Amazon. So The Collector obviously is pretty, you know, along the lines of Hostel. It's like a gore-filled horror film. It's pretty good if you like that kind of stuff. Next up is a day one release. This one's called Sea Fog. So this is another release from 88 Films. They're starting to release a selection of Korean films, which I'm really looking forward to. This is the first in their releases. Sea Fog's a really sort of, it's a really atmospheric, dramatic retelling of basically it's about a sea captain who decides he's not making any money, and he decides to ferry people across from China to Korea, illegally of course, and things go disastrously wrong. It's really well made. I definitely recommend this one. Okay, this one's another new pickup, but I think I got this one from Amazon. The price dropped dramatically on it, and I hadn't seen it. It'd been on my hit list for a while. I just didn't want to pay full price for it. To be honest with you, I'm glad I didn't pay full price. Unfortunately, I think I might have bigged this film up too much, or bought into too much of the hype. It was good. Some of the fight scenes were really well put together. Ultimately, I just thought it was trying to be more. It was just trying to be too confusing for its own good, and I think that's where its downfall was. Okay, now this one is a masterpiece. The Mexican director Alejandro Jodorowsky, I'd love to buy some more of his films. I'd like to get some of the real classics from like the 70s. This is a brilliant horror film from the 80s, Santa Sangre. It's so surreal and twisted and screwed up. You have to see it to believe it. This one comes highly, highly recommended. Now, here's another amazing release. I bought this one from Wow HD because it's an American release. Luckily, it's region free, so it plays on my Blu Ray player. This one came out in May, and it took a couple of weeks to arrive. This is the fantastic Ichi the Killer from Takashi Miike. This is probably one of my favourite films of all time. It's so out there. It's difficult to describe. It's about a warped killer and a masochistic Yakuza thug, basically, and Ichi's the killer, and the other character, Kakihara, played by Tadanobu Asano, he plays the guy who's tracking him down. I can't really describe this film. You have to see it to believe it. But believe me, epic doesn't describe it well enough. It's so good. Okay, here we've got another HMV pickup. This one's called Sorcerer from William Friedkin. This is basically a remake of The Wages of Fear, which was a French film released a couple of decades earlier. This is a great film about a group of men in South America who have to transport some highly explosive material across, you know, a really, really sort of bad patch of land, and it could basically go off at any point. Yeah, it's a great film that was overshadowed by a little film called Star Wars on its initial release, but luckily it's got a bit of a cult following now. Okay, next up we've got a British film called The Levelling. Now, I haven't had a chance to watch this one yet. It got quite a good bit of positive feedback from, well, like you can read on it, Mark Commode was bigging it up when it came out. So yeah, as I say, it's a drama, I know that. I don't know a great deal about it. I'm going to sit down and watch it soon. Looking forward to it. Now, this is a cracking release from Artificial Eye. It's another pickup from HMV. This one's called I Am Not a Witch. set in modern day Zambia. Yeah, it's a really fantastic film. Highly recommended. Here we've got Hell or High Water. This is one that again I put off buying when it was first released. Glad I bought it though. This was a really well made film. Definitely again a good recommendation. Yeah, you don't. I wouldn't have predicted the ending. I thought that was a bit harsh, but there you go. It's great stuff. Next up, we've got a Russian film, Guardians. This has obviously been influenced by the Marvel cinematic universe. I'm going to be honest, I haven't sat down to watch this one yet. I just wanted to see what it was like to see a bit of sort of commercial Russian cinema, because most of the Russian films I watch tend to be sort of like the art house release and the old school films like that, you know, from Tarkovsky. Yeah, so gonna sit down and watch this one when I don't have to think about much. Next up, we got another British film. This is really old. This is from like the 40s. So haven't seen this one before. It'd been on my hit list for a while. The only reason I picked it up is because it was reduced down to about £3 new. And of course I've got Prime, so I just thought, well, why not, you know. Yeah, I don't know about this. I will give it a go soon. I'm not going to expect too much, and then hopefully I won't be disappointed. Okay. We've got another release from the director Takashi Miike here. Now, I don't think I articulated very well when I was talking about Ichi the Killer before. When I said it was epic, don't get me wrong, it's absolutely brutal, and if you don't like twisted and messed up films, you won't enjoy it. However, this one is a little bit more on the commercial side, so as you can see, this is called Blade of the Immortal. Now, this is a very recent film from him. It's only about a year or so old. It's about a Japanese samurai who basically gets cursed so that he can't die. It's almost a bit like sort of like the Wolverine story, apart from it's a curse rather than a mutation. And he ends up having to help a little girl who wants revenge because her father was killed. Yeah, this one is amazing. Definitely check it out. It's so good. Okay, so here's another Music Magpie pickup. The great thing about these is they literally cost a couple of quid. Sorry about that, just had to sneeze. So this is Valhalla Rising with Mads Mikkelsen. Now, I read quite a few reviews about this one before I picked it up. No spoilers, but the way this is marketed, I think, is it's made to look like a proper sort of brutal film about Viking raids, maybe similar to the series, or I don't know, maybe compare it to Gladiator or something like that. It's not like that at all. It's like an art house film. It's sort of an existential reflection on life. However, depending on what you like, I would say this one comes pretty highly recommended. It's a beautiful looking film, and I found it really entertaining. Okay, so I couldn't really go last month without picking up this film, of course, The Last Jedi. I decided to get the First Order limited sleeve just to stay in the theme with the dark side, basically, which is what I've got for The Force Awakens. I know this film divided opinions a lot. I've never been like a massive super fan of Star Wars. I really enjoy the films, but you know, it's not like I've watched them 300 times or something like that. I gotta be honest, there were flaws with this film, but ultimately I enjoyed it for what it was. But that's just my opinion. Next up, this is another American release that I got from Wow HD. Yeah, that's another website that I recommend, by the way. They're not secondhand, but it's all obviously American releases. There's no shipping, there's no import charges. I think this one cost about a tenner for it to be delivered. The only thing is you have to wait a couple of weeks for it to arrive. Pretty standard sort of martial arts film, this one. Anything with, you know, Scott Adkins is going to be pretty good if you like action films. This one didn't really disappoint. Massively looking forward to Triple Threat coming out this year at some point, starring Scott Adkins amongst an amazing cast of other fighters. Can't wait for that one. This pickup was from Poundland. I just saw it on the shelves. Before I bought it, I quickly looked online to see what the general consensus was, if it was a load of rubbish or if it was half good. Still haven't watched it yet. I'll put it on one time when I'm bored, no doubt. Not really expecting much, although I must say quite a few of the reviews were quite positive about it. And, you know, I'm a big fan of Sean Bean anyway, so that always helps. The other one that I found in Poundland was this one. In the UK, it just seems to be released as Knockout. Internationally, I think it was just known as Bangkok Knockout. Yeah, from the same director as it says, Ong Bak the Beginning. This is just a Thai martial arts film. There's no real plot here. It's just basically about watching some crazy action sequences and some insane stunts. For a pound, you can't go wrong with that. Now, a few people may be aware that Arrow had a sale on their website recently, so I picked up 2 films. This is the first of them. This one has been on my wish list for some time since it was released. I, for some reason, just never got around to picking it up. So the price it was, I thought definitely get this. This is a documentary from the 1960s. It's in French. It's called The Sorrow and the Pity. It looks at basically the German occupation of France during the Second World War. I haven't watched this one yet. I need to find a suitable time because it's like 4.5 hours long. So it's difficult. This one isn't going to appeal to a lot of people, I realise that. But I think it's a fascinating subject matter. So yes, I am looking forward to giving this one a go. So the other Arrow release was Doberman Cop. This one stars Sonny Chiba. It's directed by a great Japanese director, Kenji Fukasaku. Again, not watched this one yet because these were very recent pickups. I do love Japanese cinema. If you've watched the rest of them, you know, any of the collection videos, you'll know that. Can't wait to give this one a go. It's pretty crazy apparently, but pretty awesome. Okay, here's another one I got offline, online rather. It was like £1, this one, which is why I bought this version. It was marketed as the US release. Looking at it, and I noticed on the back, it's got like a Canadian age rating, and obviously it's like bilingual cover as well because it's half in French. So yes, this is definitely the Canadian release. Doesn't really bother me because, as I say, when you're paying £1, I can't really moan too much. It's region free, so it plays just fine. Yeah, the film anyway, Changeling with Angelina Jolie. It's directed by Clint Eastwood. This is a really good film that I watched when it first came out, and I really enjoyed it. And for some reason, I've never got around to buying it. It's a fascinating drama set in the 1920s. About a daughter whose son disappears and then is returned to him, and she doesn't think that it's her son who's been returned. Really, really sort of atmospheric, good. Yeah, it's a great film. Okay, so next up we've got the Louis Buñuel connection from Studio Canal. Now, normally what I like to do with these box sets is unfold them so I can show them off, but this one is it just goes on forever. So this is a great collection of 7 of Buñuel's films. These are the films that he made when he, towards the end of his career, although some people might argue that's the peak of his career. So going through it, you've got Diary of a Chambermaid, Belle de Jour, The Milky Way, Tristiana, The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie, The Phantom of Liberty, and That Obscure Object of Desire. As I say, these are the films that he made in France generally, where he moved to after he'd been like outcast from Spain. He went to Mexico for a short period of time and then started making films in France. What can I say about Buñuel? He's a fantastic director. His films, as most people will know, are really quite surreal, and they're really scathing of, like, you know, governing bodies, the government. Obviously at the time when he was making films, certainly in Spain, was when it was completely under control by Franco, so it was sort of a way of, you know, an artistic way of rebelling against that, and it reflects in his films. Most of them are hailed as masterpieces. They're really interesting watches, highly entertaining. Some of them are so sort of scathing. They're really funny. There are a few films missing from this collection that I would like to get of his. Some of his really early stuff, and yeah, some more of his Spanish films. But this is a damn good start because I don't own any other of his films. He was a fantastic filmmaker. Right, we're getting there now, not too much longer to go. This is the new release from Masters of Cinema. This is Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Cure. I must say, before I started collecting Blu-rays, which was probably about 10 years ago, I'd never seen any films from this director, and I love how I've been introduced to them. This is a great example of one of the films that pioneered like the J-horror movement in Japan in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Really sort of dark, you know, disturbing, atmospheric, sort of like a horror film. Yeah, I can't recommend this film enough. I'm so glad it's had a release, and it's a brilliant presentation from Eureka. Okay, and we're going to end the month on a light-hearted note. So this was another Music Magpie pickup. I actually paid about £5. I thought it was only second hand. It turned up and it was brand new, so I certainly can't complain about that. Wanted to get these films. This is a real piece of nostalgia for me. Before anyone says, I'm well aware how bad the third one is, and I might get around to watching that at some point, but I loved the first one, and I didn't mind the second one as well. As I say, these are sort of childhood favourites for me. When the first film was released, I wasn't even 10, I don't think, at the time, and I absolutely loved Turtles when I was growing up. So, as I say, this was a necessity really at some point or other, and I'm glad I've got it. Right then everyone, that just about wraps things up. This video's gone on far longer than I intended. I hope you've enjoyed it. Loads of pickups, got some good releases coming out over the next couple of months. One of these days I will start producing a video every month instead of one every 2 months, so they're not quite as long. On a personal note, I'm getting married in May, so good times ahead, and I've just got one last thing to show you before I end the video. Now, I don't normally do this, but here is a PlayStation 4 pickup called Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom. This has got like a massive influence from Studio Ghibli, if you like those films. I'm enjoying playing this. I really don't get much opportunity to actually play games on the PlayStation 4 anymore, but I've tried to make a bit of time to play this one. Yeah, highly recommended if you're into gaming. And there we go, that's another video done. So thank you very much for joining me, and see you again in the future. And to all you Blu-ray collectors, YouTubers out there, keep it going guys, because I love watching all your videos. Thank you very much everyone. Have a great day.